Welcome to Lenox Sportsmen's Club. We're here today. We're doing a brief video about safe gun handling. We're just trying to get people a basic view on what we're expecting from you as far as safe gun handling goes, safety on the range, some minor range procedures that are going to keep everybody safe. It is a fun sport. We'd like to continue this. Recently, we have witnessed some unsafe gun handling. So what we're doing today is we're giving you a visual on exactly what we expect out of you. And keep in mind, these are not suggestions, these are expectations. So we're gonna go through a few things in small steps and show you exactly what we expect. And hopefully everybody can have a good time shooting and stay safe. Okay, we have a yellow safety light here at the range. If you show up at the range to shoot on any given day and the yellow safety light is on, more than likely there's people out on the range and they're cleaning up their brass and getting ready to go. At this point in time, we ask you just hang back in the squad room, please, and wait for them to clean up. We don't want you to bring your gear in and unpack it here and start handling firearms while people are out on the range with the yellow safety light on, okay? So there's absolutely no firearm handling when the yellow safety light is on. Again, yellow safety light switch is here, and there's two yellow lights here, and there's yellow lights out on the range, okay? So when you come to the club here, the range, with a live firearm, I'm going to demonstrate to you. What I'd like you to do is come in, set your gear down, go right to the port. Make your firearm safe, okay? There's no firearm handling over here. I'm going to draw my firearm, finger off the trigger, it's pointed down range. Rack the slide, eject the live shell, drop the magazine, put the empty chamber indicator in, and set your firearm down. If your live bullet drops on the floor, please leave the live bullet alone. Continue to make the firearm safe. Please do not be concerned with the live bullet. We want you to be concerned about the direction of the firearm. You can pick your live bullet up after. A lot of accidents happen. People pay a lot more attention to the live bullet going on the ground. They still have their hand on the gun, and now they're pointing the gun in an unsafe direction. Okay? Safe direction here is downrange. So this is the proper procedure here we'd like you to use for making your live firearm safe. Now, when you go to leave, if you're done shooting and you're shooting target ammo, you come back over here, you're ready to go. You're going to put your carry back on. You're going to take your firearm, put the magazine in, make it live, decock, point it downrange again, and into your holster, okay? We don't want you pointing your live firearm everywhere. So this is the proper procedure if you show up and leave the range with a hot firearm. Okay, so unpacking your gear. We don't want any gun handling in the shelf area, whether it be a live firearm, an empty firearm, anything. The new rules that we will have implemented here now will be all gun handling is done at the ports, okay? So whatever bag you have, box you have, case you have, whatever, we're asking you to bring it to the port and unpack your firearm there. So if I have a bag like this, inside I've got a box with a gun in it, okay? So if you got a mat, whatever you shoot with, there's already mats here. I don't care if you bring your bag to the port and unpack the box, or if you just bring the box back and forth. There's plenty of room on these. You can unpack your firearms, make them safe. You can put your magazines here. You can have magazines back here. Ammunition. You can load magazines back here, but we don't want any gun handling here. If you're back here handling firearms and other people are down here at the other end of the range shooting, at some point in time you're going to end up pointing your firearm at them. We don't want that. Okay, so please unpack your bags. If you have a box like this, it's the same thing. You can have a box this size. You can pull your firearms out, put them here. You can have a bullseye type box, which you can bring to the port. Same thing, it fits on the port. You can open it up, make your firearm safe here. When you're done shooting, or if you're going to change firearms, we'd like you to bring, same thing, bring the box over. Put this firearm away and grab a different firearm, different box, whatever it is. We don't want you going back and forth with firearms, okay? If you have a rifle, if you come in with a rifle box, we have a rifle rack down at the other end of the range. We'd like you to take the rifle, same thing, bring it to the port. Open up the case, pull the rifle out, and make that firearm safe. Same thing, we don't want the rifle coming back and forth. If you have a giant rifle box that doesn't fit on the port, the safe direction here for rifles and rifles only is up. So if you have to unpack, for some reason back here, we'd like you to take your cased rifle, if you have a big rifle box or rifle case, same thing. Tip the case up and pull the rifle out so it's up. There is 1-inch ballistic Lexan above the Tectum sound deadening here, so it is safe for that instance. So you can bring the rifle across, holding it upward, and then point down range and make the rifle safe. We ask you to please use the empty chamber indicators as much as possible. It lets everybody else know that's on the range that your firearm is safe and it's unloaded. So you may have come in with a bag full of goodies, and inside you have your firearm, your ammo, and you have a soft case. Same thing as a hard case. You can come over to the port with your soft case, unload your firearm, keep it pointed down range, drop the magazine out, and make it safe. It's really no different. Soft case, hard case, you can bring your bag back and forth. What we just don't want you to do is taking the raw firearm itself and swinging it back and forth. If it's in a case, people won't be offended by it. There's no chance that your finger's going to be on the trigger. And hopefully the firearm is not loaded. Okay, in a situation, you're here shooting at the range, and you decide you want to try out your friend's firearm. Your friend wants to try out your firearm. Someone just came in, they got a different gun that you'd like to try out. Essentially, the easiest and safest thing here to do would be just to change ports with them. Okay, some situations, you'll have to move a firearm, but we'd really like you to do less gun handling possible. Everybody stays safe. So what we'd like you to do is just change ports.
So Brian, would you like to try my gun today?
Sure. Why don't you shoot mine while I'm shooting yours?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. In a situation like this, there was no movement of firearms. Nobody got swept with firearms. Everybody stays safe. If you just hung a target up, you want to stay at your port, you got a lot of gear. If you're going to move a firearm, we'd like you to move the firearm. Please just put it back in the case, and then we'll move it that way. Something may come up where your target carrier breaks, and you have to move to another port, whether it be you and a friend or just you. We'd like you to just case the firearm. That way everybody knows nobody's having a firearm pointed at them. Everybody stays safe. Okay? So these are two simple things that keeps everybody safe. So there's a couple small simple things we want to talk about. Firearm staying in front of the port opening. This is relative to dropping a magazine, dropping a bullet, or maybe you may have you've been shooting along and you have hot brass ejected on you. Okay, so what we're asking you to do is please keep the firearms within the port opening. We don't want anything out here, up here. So if you have hot brass ejected on you, put the firearm down before you start freaking out and digging after the hot brass. If you drop a magazine, you drop a bullet on the ground, anything like that, put the firearm down first. We don't want you, pointing the gun anywhere where it shouldn't be, retrieving the bullet, retrieving the magazine, retrieving the hot brass. Cell phone use is prohibited in the range area. We've had a lot of issues here with people texting, taking phone calls, leaving their firearms unattended, walking back and forth, answering their phone with a firearm in their hand, and walking back and forth with a firearm. So, no cell phones. Cell phones are totally prohibited. If you have a phone call, put your firearm down, put your empty chamber indicator in, and go take your call, do your texting or whatever out in the squad room. Absolutely no cell phone use on the firing line. Another thing we like to talk about today is a ceasefire. Any shooter, for any reason, when you're on the firing line, can call a ceasefire. Whether it be a medical emergency, somebody sees unsafe gun handling going on, somebody's got a gun pointed in the wrong direction, for any reason, you can call a ceasefire. Okay? At that point in time, everybody is to stop firing immediately. No more firing. All guns are to be benched, magazines out, slides open, chamber indicators in, cylinders open, and we want everybody to make their firearm safe, put the empty chamber indicator in, and step back behind the yellow line until the situation is resolved. So, for any reason you have a firearm malfunction, whether it be a hang fire, a squib load, any of the situations, you get a brass stovepiped, your gun is dirty, whatever it may be. Keep the firearm pointed downrange, okay? If you got a stovepipe, really easy to clear. It's a piece of brass hanging here. If you have a misfire, which is pretty much the firearm going click, and it doesn't go bang, you've got no bang. You're to keep the firearm pointed downrange, finger off the trigger, for 30 seconds. You could have what's called a hang fire. A hang fire is pretty much a perceptible delay. If you have old ammunition that was stored improperly for any reason, you could end up with a hang fire. So we'd like you to keep the firearm pointed downrange for 30 seconds. Count to 30, then eject the live bullet out, and you should be clear. We do have a dud bin over on the counter. You can throw your duds into that. So for any reason, hang fire, squib load, stovepipe, anything happens, keep the firearm pointed downrange, keep the firearm at the bench here. We don't want you bringing the firearm back there to work on it. If anybody has to do any working on it, it's to be here and pointed downrange. This is in addition to the handgun maintenance. If you have a misfire, a hang fire, squib load, any of that. Some people don't know what a squib load is. A squib load is when you either have a bad primer or there's a lack of powder in there. The bullet will get jammed in the barrel. You may have an undercharged bullet. In a revolver, what will happen is the cylinder will not index anymore. In an automatic, it'll just get jammed in the barrel. If this happens to you, we do have here in the drawer, there's some basic tools. There's a brass drift that won't damage your barrel, and a hammer. It's a simple procedure to clear it out. If you have a squib load, the firearm will have made noise. You would have heard a bang, but a very small bang. It will be very faint. Sometimes the action will rack back part way and it will just close again. You'll have a bullet jammed in the barrel of the gun just after the breech. So at this point in time, we're going to ask you to drop your magazine out, rack it back, your brass will drop out and you will have a bullet in here. You can take your empty chamber indicator. I don't have the bullet in there today, but you can drive it in and you'll feel the bullet will stop there. Hopefully the bullet will be lodged back far enough where you will not be able to put another bullet in. We don't want 2 bullets in the barrel at the same time. You could blow the barrel up. That'll cause a real bad situation. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your brass drift that we've got from the drawer. You're going to put it into the barrel and just tap the bullet back. It's not going to hurt your firearm. It's a brass drift. Drive it back and you should be able to continue firing. It's a pretty simple fix. As far as guests and new shooters here, we'd like you to be a little more thorough than not. So we'd like you to come in, explain the firearm to them, the operation of the firearm, you know, stance, grip, all those things. Hang a target, have them do a little bit of dry firing first before you go live with them. And what we'd like you to do is when that first happens, we'd like you to have them shoot 1 round at a time. So load the firearm with 1 round so they can feel what's going to happen with their first recoil. And please be realistic about the caliber. Don't bring down a little person here, a brand new shooter, and stick a high caliber gun in their hand. The only thing you're going to do is turn them off to the sport. So those are the things we like you to do with a guest and a new shooter. And as far as guest goes, you're responsible for the guest. So their actions are your actions. So as far as ports, keep the firearm pointed down range. Give them 1 bullet at a time. Be realistic about it. So we're here on the range. You got multiple people shooting. You got a couple different scenarios here. What we're going to talk about is the yellow safety light. At this time, we'd either like to hang a 30-foot pipe out there to stop the target carrier at 30 feet, or you have somebody who's done shooting and they want to clean up their brass. So at this time, we're going to turn the yellow lights on. Whoever turns the yellow light on, essentially you're calling a ceasefire, okay? If people are here and shooting. If nobody's here, it's just you or just you and a friend, obviously you know what's going on. But if you have other people here shooting, you have to be courteous. You have to ask them, hey, I'm done shooting. Do you mind if I clean up my brass? Or I have a different gun that I'd like to use. It's not a 50 or 75-foot gun. It's a 30-foot gun. I'd like to put a 30-foot pipe up and stop the target carrier there. So at that time, you get everybody on board with it. You're going to get everybody to step back from the firing line. You're going to put empty chamber indicators in all the firearms. You are responsible to go walk down the line and make sure that everybody has empty chamber indicators in. There's no loaded firearms. And at that point in time, you should ask everybody if they'd like to load their magazines or do anything like that while the yellow light is on. If that is the case, they need to take their magazines, their ammunition, and bring them to the back bench. Nobody is to be in front of the yellow line when the yellow lights are on. And nobody is to touch any firearms. So there's absolutely no gun handling while the yellow lights are on. So at this point in time, we'll turn the yellow safety light on. Right here, I'm going to grab one of these yellow pipes. This is a 30-foot pipe, and I'm going to go out onto the range. Okay, like I said, you're responsible. You make sure all the empty chamber indicators are in, all the firearms are safe or taken off the line, and people are stepped back from the yellow line. Again, no gun handling with the yellow lights on. So you got a 30-foot yellow pipe. There's a spot here in the ceiling. There's a yellow painted flange up here that you can screw this into. It's only a few threads. Just tighten that in, and your target carrier will stop it now at 30 feet. Okay, As you enter the firing range, again, it's your responsibility to make sure that the range is now clear. You may have not been the only person that went out onto the range. There could be someone else out there taking a yellow pipe down. They could be putting a yellow pipe up. Somebody could be out there cleaning their brass up. There could be multiple reasons. So you need to make sure that everybody is back inside the safe area before you close the door up and before you turn the yellow lights out. Okay? If you have multiple people down here, call out to them, make sure, check both doors are closed. Everybody's good. Now you can turn the lights out. Everybody can resume firing again. So, cleanup situation. Our yellow safety light is on. Everybody's back behind the firing line, behind the yellow line. Empty chamber indicators are in. We're going to go out on the range and I want to show you a couple things for cleanup. We have a yellow line right here. This painted floor section. You're really only responsible to clean up this painted floor section, okay? We don't want you going out past the yellow line and sweeping up anymore. You mostly have powder and lead residue out there, so we're trying to keep the contact to a minimum. That is cleaned up separately. So just come into this area, use your brooms, clean up your area, the brass that you made a mess with, and put it into the pails, okay? So you don't have to clean up out there. We don't want any pregnant women or any children out here in the range area. We don't want overexposure to lead and powder dust and those things. So if you have brought children or pregnant women here for shooting, please keep them in the port area or in the ready room area. We just don't want them out here. There may be an instance where you may be contacted by the club by phone or by mail. There are security cameras here. The board and the range committee will be observing gun handling and conducts on the range. If you are contacted, at that point in time, your fob will probably be turned off. You will not be able to gain access to the club. These will not be for reasons that you left brass, you didn't clean up, you left a mess, anything like that. This is a violation, basically unsafe gun handling that was witnessed on camera. At this point in time, you will be contacted by the club, one of the range committee or one of the board of directors. We'd like to discuss it with you. You may have to come back in, see the video again. We may have to discuss whatever the incident may be as far as unsafe gun handling goes. We're not looking for any confrontations or any attitudes or anything. We'd like everybody to go home from here safely. Nobody wants a firearm pointed at them. So if this happens, please be respectful. We'll contact you. We'll set up an appointment where somebody will speak with you, and then we'll let you back in and your fob will be turned back on. Hopefully it's not a major incident.